I just love this song, Jesus Messiah. It's so good to be in his house and sing his praises, to give him all that he deserves, all the glory he deserves. So let's just continue in that spirit to sing his praises this morning. He became sin, who knew no sin, that we might become his righteousness. He humbled himself and carried the cross. Love so amazing, love so amazing. Jesus Messiah, name above all names, blessed Redeemer, Emmanuel, the rescue for sinners, the ransom from heaven, Jesus Messiah, the Lord of all. His body the bread, his blood the wine, broken and poured out, all for love. The whole world trembled and the veil was torn. Love so amazing, love so amazing. Jesus Messiah, name above all names, blessed Redeemer, Emmanuel, the rescue for sinners, the ransom from heaven, Jesus Messiah, Lord of all. All our hope is in you. All our hope is in you. All the glory to you, God, the light of the world, Jesus Messiah, name above all names, blessed Redeemer, Emmanuel, the rescue for sinners, the ransom from heaven, Jesus Messiah, Lord of all. Jesus Messiah, Lord of all. thank you for the fact that we can call you God, we can call you Abba Father. Whatever comes our way, whatever we're struggling with this morning, Lord, may we give it all to you, our great love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Why don't we continue singing his praises? My Jesus, I love thee. I know thou art mine. For thee all the follies of sin I resign. My gracious Redeemer, my Savior art thou. If ever I love thee, by Jesus 'tis now. I love thee because thou hast first loved me and purchased my pardon on Calvary's tree. I love thee for wearing the thorns on my brow. If ever I love thee, my Jesus 'tis now. I'll love thee in life, I will love thee in death, and praise thee as long as thou lendest me breath, and sing with the dead to lies cold on my brow. If ever I love thee, my Jesus 'tis now. In mansions of glory and endless delight, I'll ever adore thee in heaven so bright. I'll sing with the glittering crown on my brow. If ever I love thee, my Jesus 'tis now. Amen. Amen. You may be seated as children are dismissed to Children's Church. This morning, as we go into the time of worship, we are continuing our series with the foundations of our Christian faith. And as we continue to look at all of those foundations, this morning we're going to talk about a subject that I believe each and every single one of us can say we have an issue with from time to time, and that is rules. The rules of religion. So many rules in each different denomination. What do we do with these rules? And so the most famous rules that we will find come from the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. Anybody know off the top of their heads? Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments. And we all have, I believe, a love-hate relationship with rules. Maybe many of us have even said, rules are meant to be broken. And on the one hand, rules can provide structure, they can provide predictability, but on the other hand, rules are restrictive. And all we really want is to do what we want, when we want, and the way that we want to do it. That alone makes them so hard to follow. And we assume that when we don't follow the rules, have you ever felt this way? That God rejects us. And he says, I want nothing to do with you. And is that really true? And sometimes when we look from an outside perspective on our Christianity and the way we walk with God, do we ever portray that to other people, especially those who aren't of the same faith? And if you were raised in a religious home or you attended a religious school, it was probably the rules that made you think, do they really have a place for me in religion? Faith communities sometimes ostracize people, and maybe that's you right now. Maybe you came from a church where you were pushed away for believing something different or for not following the rules exactly as they have. Truth is, most rules in a denomination can seem contrary to human nature, and being the humans that we are, that's a problem, and sometimes inconsistency in the way the rules are applied and to whom they are applied maybe left you with the feeling that, you know what, maybe they breed hypocrisy. Maybe that's all they do. Well, religious people love loopholes. It's been that way since the Old Testament. We certainly see it in the New Testament as Jesus tries to talk to Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes. All those religious people, they love their loopholes, and they're always trying to trip Jesus up and see if he would try to create a loophole for the laws that God had portrayed. For if this is the Son of God, surely he won't say, well, we shouldn't follow this rule or that rule, because he established those rules. They look for loopholes in their faith to also take away from some of those restrictive levels. So many, let's say, Catholics have found ways, and I have some friends who are Catholics, so I'm not bashing them, have found ways to say, you know what, that whole idea of birth control, well, there's a way around it. Talking to my Muslim friend, I'm going to call him, he won't let me use his name, which is fine. But he came back after saying, Allah be with you, and I'm like, and also with you. I think I piqued his curiosity just a little bit. But he came back and had a couple questions for him about why he believes and what he believes in and how he practices it. And I said, so do you sojourn to the temple every 5 years? Do you pray 5 times a day on your face? Do you do this? Do you do that? And he said, no, most Muslims don't pray on their faces 5 times a day facing, I forget which direction they have to face, maybe north. And I was like, oh wow, really? That's surprising. He's like, well, hold on, mister. Most Protestants don't follow through and believe in the way that Jesus expressed love, kindness, mercy, and grace towards other people. I was like, hey, now that's getting personal. Let's not go too far. But it's starting to make me believe that religious people are generally better at believing than they are behaving. Every major faith group teaches some form of the golden rule. Remember that? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So we can all be guilty of using that imperative. And religion sometimes, yes, it can seem to breed hypocrisy. And at some level, I think we all can be hypocrites from time to time. That I may be stepping on toes, I may be too offensive this morning, but I'm the first one to admit I can be a hypocrite. Believe me, I can. Thursday night, the girls came over for group. I got off work at 7 o'clock, and sometimes there can be, was it Friday? I don't know, days just fly by. But anyway, you think a pastor would come home and be all happy and excited and everything. I wasn't. I was tired. I was probably a little grumpy. And lately, Callie just has this whole idea of, I'm 2.5, I'm an adult, I can do what I want when I want. I don't know if this is just her, if that's every child, but it's getting on my nerves a little bit. So I believe you guys saw this. I carried her over my shoulder into the bedroom to get her jammies on, because that's the only way I knew how. She didn't like it. She was making a fit, but I'm like, oh, just shush, come on, let's go. And when I went downstairs to see my loving daughter, who I hadn't seen all day, she's sitting on the couch watching Mulan. And I go by her, I'm like, oh, honey, I missed you. I missed you so much. But she turns and goes, shh. It's like, hey, give your dad a kiss. Like, and she had this rule of, don't bother me. I'm doing what I want, when I want, and the way I want. Leave me alone. But sometimes that's what the rules can do. We get so tied up in how they're supposed to be followed through that anything that comes in our way that can be a distraction or make us feel different or act different, we just push it away. In spite of all of that, all these faith systems, all these religions, they all have one thing in common. To be in good standing, you have to follow the rules. Each and every denomination believes a good Christian of any denomination, whether it's the Ten Commandments in the Old Testament, whether it's Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, the rules define proper and proper behavior within a religious group, especially Christianity. But here's something that you may not have considered. Rules precede relationship. If you're a parent, you set rules for your kids, don't you? Or at least you try. Imagine getting a call from a neighbor checking in to see if your kid has been put to bed or not. It's none of their business. She could care less about your kids, and that they're your kids. An individual's children are his or her children before the creation of rules. In fact, an individual's children are his or her children, even if it seems as if they don't have any rules for their kids. Have you all seen that type of parenting? Really, I'm not the only one, right? You've gone to a grocery store before, you've seen it. Do these parents have any rules for their kids? Relationship, though, always precedes the rules that a parent sets for its children. And I call that the family model. And it was really tested out for us. What night did we get our new phones? Thursday? Wednesday. It was Wednesday night. We got new phones. My father, those of you who know my father, when he sets his mind on doing something, it has to be done right away. Heaven help you if you try to say, Dad, can we wait a day? He said, no, we got to get new phones. We're switching from Verizon to AT&T, so we had to go do this. I sat in AT&T with Callie for 2 hours. It was a long time for a 31-year-old. I thought, man, is this ever going to happen? They had to switch over 7 phone lines, so you can imagine it takes a while. And so we're sitting there, and she was good for about the first 5 minutes, and then the next, oh man, it was just crazy. She was running. She was literally running so much around the store that she was sweating. And I'm sure I looked like one of those parents who had no rules set out for their children. And then there's like this little section in front of AT&T where it's just nothing but like a wall and a banner. She found a way to get back there. And then she started screaming because she couldn't get out. And then she would hit the wall. And I was like, oh my gosh, I look like such a horrible, horrible parent right now. What, I mean, they're probably going to kick us out and say, forget these phones, you don't get them. And you know, it really made me starting to think about this family model. I love my daughter so much. I want the best for her, but every now and then I just want to spank them behind. And the family model, do you throw your kid away? Do you say, I'm done with this, here, free kid, free 2-year-old? Or do you say, all right, tomorrow's a new day, we'll start over fresh, I'm sure everything will be fine. We still love them, and in our love for our children, we can correct them, we can discipline them, but we will never disown them. You may have that thought, but you'll never disown them. That's the family model. But that's not the only model when you think of relationship with God. In some cases, one's willingness to adopt or agree to a set of rules creates the relationship. Sometimes it's the rules that are the only thing keeping them together in relationship. You can call this the club model.